Hello, and welcome back to this exciting series of excitingness. Anyways, I've been putting off to do this video because today we're going to talk about Shin Megami Tensei 2. And oh boy, this game. I'm just going to get straight to the point before I even start this video. This is my least favorite Shin Megami Tensei game. Well, Shin Megami Tensei mainline game. So, yeah. So, let's just jump right into the story. And if you're like me, when you loaded up this game, you immediately press start and went to a new game. And now something that's kind of interesting with this game, the way it starts, is that it kind of just throws you into the world. You talk to this dude whose name Okamoto or something. He's like a gym dude. He's a guy who owns a gym, and he's like, "Hey, you're going to fight this tournament. So train up." So then you train up, and from there, you end up fighting the tournament. The game explains itself a little bit, like,
Hello, Post Me here, and I feel like I should explain myself a bit better here. So, when I say the game immediately throws you into the world, if there's a prologue in the game, like an opening thing when you first boot up the game, but I didn't see it, so when I say immediately press start, that's what I did. And that little opening in the beginning of the game before you start it up is kind of important, but since I missed it the first time I played through the game, I had very little context. Basically, too, this game pretty much skips world building because all the world building was done in the first game. So when you start up this game, that's why it feels like he throws you into the middle of the world, because all the world building in this game was already done in the first game. And something else I kind of forgot to mention later on in the video is that this world is really cool because it feels lived in, and that's neat. Also, when you do the training, because I forgot to mention this as well, the training is just a simple tutorial for the game, obviously. But I figured I might as well mention that too. So yeah. Post me over.
and yeah, from the tournament you meet this. Eventually, you'll meet this madam person, and from there, the story kind of escalates big time because in the game, you're considered the Messiah, and you're the one that's gonna rebuild Tokyo. Because basically, the story happens directly after the events of Shin Megami Tensei 1, where the world is practically in ruin, and you have to save it. You have to rebuild the world, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Overall, I'm not the biggest fan of this story. I feel like it had missed potential, and yeah, and that's what bothers me about the most about this game. The story is, at least in my opinion, kind of weak. So I don't necessarily hate it. It's just not. It could have been way better. That's what bothers me about the story. Okay, let's start talking with the characters. Starting with Alf. I really like Alf. I really like his origin story and stuff. It's a pretty cool story. Something that bothers me though is that even though you get to hear his origin story and stuff, the story, the game doesn't really have enough time to explain it more. And once you hear about it, it's never brought up again, and that really annoys me because I really like his backstory, and I really feel like they could have expanded upon it, but they didn't. And that is one of the ways that the story kind of annoys me. Other characters I really like, though, I really like both Beth and Huriko. They're both really cool characters. I really like both of them. They're both really good, helpful characters. Huriko is probably one of the best support characters in mainline Shin Megami Tensei games. She's a good character. I don't like Zane, though. Zane, I feel like he never changes throughout the entire story. He's a law hero, and he wants to save the world, rebuild Tokyo using lawful ways, and which makes sense because he's a law hero. But he never really takes sides with you. He just remains firm on his position as being a law hero, and he sticks true to his beliefs, and he does his best to try to save Tokyo with the belief of law ideologies. I really wish he, I, I really wish he changed throughout the story, but he doesn't. But he really doesn't. He like kind of questions it at times, but at least if I remember correctly, he does question it at times. But even so, he's still mostly the same, and that kind of annoys me. Another character I should probably mention is I think his name is Deleth. He's like the anti-messiah. He looks a lot like your protagonist. He always comes and fights against you, see how strong he is and stuff. He's an okay character too, but eventually just kind of goes away. But yeah, I do like most of the characters. For the most part, there's none of them I dislike. The problem I do have with the characters though is that I don't think they're not as like. Okay, the problem I have with these characters is that I feel like there's not as enjoyable to see them go through, go through their stories like it was in SMT1. They are good characters, but they're not, to me, at least not as likable as the SMT1 cast, at least if you ask me. Overall, I feel like the game has a lot of good moments, but and the story overall was and kept me interested to see it through the end. It's just this just wasn't enough there for me to fully love this story, and that's what kind of disappoints me. The characters are good though, and the story itself is good. I really do like the story to a certain extent. It's just not as amazing as it could have been. So yeah, that's what I have to say about the story without diving into mega spoilers.
Hi, Post Me here again. And I feel like I should say that, for the most part, when it comes to stories and any Shin Megami Tensei game, I usually take them for face value. I don't usually try to really super understand the themes and the subtext that it has. Though that's nice, I don't usually do it. So when I say I find the story fairly disappointing, I mean it from a face value way. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe there is something in the story that just completely flew over my head. That this story is much more awesome and deeper than it really is. But since I didn't really like read in between the lines or anything, I guess I just missed it and was kind of disappointed with the story overall. Maybe someone in the comments can maybe explain to me if you feel like it, and why this story is super awesome if you feel that way. I wouldn't mind reading that. So yeah, this was Post Me, because I feel like I should add a little bit more to why I wasn't super into the story. Post Me out. For now.
Let's talk presentation now. Graphics-wise, this game's barely an improvement from SMT1. It is a slight improvement, but not really. It is noticeable, but not by a huge margin. It's kind of a little bit disappointing because this game came out in 1994, and if you compare the games at the same time this came out in 1994, this game doesn't look that great. But even then, it looks fine. It looks presentable, obviously. But yeah, I just wish it looked better for considering the time this game came out. The UI, though, is way better than for the first game. It looks really good. The menus are awesome. The way, like, the demon list thing on the bottom looks really good. The presentation, for the most part, is good. Something that disappoints me about the presentation, though, is the music. The music for this game isn't as good as the first game, if you ask me. There's only one song I do genuinely like throughout this entire soundtrack, and it's the Abyss theme, which happens way later on in the game. But other than that, I can't think of any song that I think, oh, that's an awesome song. Unlike the multiple great songs in SMT1. And that really, really annoys me, because I really wish this game had a better soundtrack. But for the most part, the songs in this game are just kind of meh. That's how I feel about the presentation overall. Sound-wise, it's disappointing, but it is an improvement over SMT1, so that's awesome. It's just wish that music was as good as SMT1, but it isn't. The sound effects are good, though, and I do like good sound effects. Okay, let's talk gameplay now. Now, gameplay-wise, this game is kind of like SMT1 on steroids. It is a huge improvement in many, many ways. For one, you move a lot faster. In SMT1, you move slow in comparison to SMT2. You move a lot faster in SMT2. It feels a lot smoother when you move. Fusing-wise, this game is a lot better because it has skill inheritance. The first in the series, by the way. And it's obviously that makes it way better. And I really like the demon fusing in this game a lot more. The demons themselves are still just support, and there is still an annoying magnetite system, but still, the demon fusing is still a lot better than the first game. But the battle system is still identical, but it is less broken, which is, I guess, a good thing. It makes the difficulty of this game a lot more balanced, and I really like that.
Hi. Post me yet again. Jesus Christ, while editing this video, I noticed a few things I forgot, but I feel like I should further expand on what I think of the difficulty. For the most part, this difficulty of the game is balanced, which is good. But that balance is really hard. So, unlike SMT1, where that game can be really easy because you can easily break it, this game is balanced so it is hard throughout the entire game, which means it's done well. Like SMT1, this game still has the slow, painful death through random encounters thing, and this game is probably even harder when it comes to managing magnetite and money. So, yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit more on that because I just briefly mentioned the difficulty when I mentioned the difficulty. So yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit about it. So yeah, post me out for sure, hopefully.
Something that's also pretty awesome about this gameplay is that it finally lets you see what the items mean. You can go to the store and you can get descriptions on what the things you have are. And eventually you'll learn a skill that you can just do it yourself, no money included. Something that's also pretty good about this gameplay is that there's a fortune store, I think a fortune teller or whatever, that tells you where to go next if you ever get lost, which is pretty useful if you ever get lost. You still need a guide at some points though, because this game can get obtuse, but the fact that that's there is pretty useful. Another thing that's pretty good are the bosses. The bosses in this game actually are pretty challenging at times, and that's amazing. A lot of the bosses are still pretty easy, but there are still a few more bosses in this game that actually have a freaking challenge to them, and that's pretty good. There's a lot of things in this game that are improved from SMT1 in terms of gameplay, which is a good thing. Oh, I almost forgot to talk about sword fusion. It's there. If you don't know what sword fusion is, it basically is you sacrifice a demon with a sword to get a better sword, if I remember correctly. I never used sword fusion very much. That's a feature that's first started in this game as well. But yeah, it's there. I also forgot to mention that negotiations in SMT2 are still hard as balls to do. I mean, they're still really, really random. I can't believe I forgot to mention that earlier. Oh, and dungeons. The dungeons in this game are pretty good. I can't think of any dungeon that's really memorable, though. There is this one dungeon where you go inside the belly of a beast. Or Adabon, I think his name was. That's a pretty good dungeon. But for the most part, all the dungeons in this game, I can't think of any one. For the most part, I can't think of any dungeon that sticks out in my mind as being, oh yeah, that's an awesome dungeon. Except for the one where you go into Adabon. I'm probably saying that wrong. But for the most part, they are decent. Thankfully, fog is used sparingly. You know, the worst feature ever in any Shin Megami Tensei game, fog. They got rid of it for the most part in SMT2. I guess the developers realized that fog is a horrible thing, so they got rid of it in this game. It does show up once or twice in this game, but it isn't nearly as bad as SMT1. So I'm really glad that they got rid of fog when it comes to dungeon crawling. For the most part, the dungeons in this game are pretty good. I just can't think of one that really sticks out in my mind to being super awesome. Most of them are enjoyable to go through, though, and like any of the Shin Megami Tensei game, the dungeons are really fun. So, yeah. Now, I want to talk about the things that just anger me about this game so much. And it is practically the entire middle portion of this game. And this is why this is my least favorite mainline Shin Megami Tensei game. The middle part of this game is awful. Basically, you have to collect these 7 pillars in order to get to the last third of the game. But it's so tedious, and you have to backtrack so much. The backtracking in this game is awful. It is probably worse than Metroid. And you know what? I like Metroid. A little slight tangent there. But this game's backtracking is so annoying and it feels like such a slog. Especially since the first start of this game is pretty awesome. But the middle part is just lame and really, really annoying and frustrating. Something else I don't like is that there's specific moments in this game where you need to up your magic stat and up your intelligence stat to progress in the game. And it's really annoying because if you know your protagonist, you know that those stats are useless. You don't need those stats. You don't need to put points into intelligence because that pretty much does nothing. And you don't need to put points into magic because that does nothing. Well, for the most part. So it was really, really annoying where you have to put points in those stats in order to make progress in a dungeon or actually to enter a dungeon, and you need the other 10 magic stat to get the last sky pillar. I mean, what's the sky pillar? But whatever, you'll get the last pillar, and it's really annoying that you have to do this annoying put up your stats and put up points in those both stats when they're damn it useless to begin with. And I don't like that. I spent so many hours just grinding to put those points up because while I was playing this game, I didn't know you needed to put points in those stats. I just left them alone until I actually had to put points in them. So I wasted hours grinding, and I really hated that. Something I forgot to mention about the backtracking too is that the reason there's so much backtracking in this game is because there's a dungeon called the Center, and it's literally the center of the game. There was a point in the game where the terminal for that center is down, and that terminal is down for a good chunk of the game, and it's really annoying that you can't teleport there. So a good chunk of the game will be traveling back and forth from the center to get to other places because you can't use the teleportation from the center. And I really, really hate that. You're wasting a lot of time if you don't know what you need to do and you don't know where to go from place to place because the freaking terminal in the middle is gone. And I don't like that. And if for some reason you don't know what the terminal is, that's just a saving spot / teleporting spot. It's really annoying that that's freaking down in one of the most essential spots of the game, but friggin' hell, it's there, and it's really annoying. I should say that the last of this game is pretty good, though. It's just that the middle part of this game just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth that I just don't like it nearly as much as the first game. There are a lot of ways this game is an improvement from SMT1, but I don't like that middle part, like at all. It freaking annoys me to hell. But the first and last of this game is really good. It's just the middle part is bad, and that's what annoys me. This is a good game in a lot of ways. This is way better than SMT1, but it's also just as annoying as SMT1. Even though SMT1 is a good game, and that game is really annoying at times, I feel like the annoying parts in that game are way less annoying than the annoying parts in SMT2. And that's why I don't, and it's just really, really annoying. That's why I don't like it nearly as much. So yeah. Okay, I feel like this video kind of turned out a little bit disorganized. So to sum up, I think SMT2 has a good story, but is weak in comparison to the first game. I think it has good characters, but I prefer the SMT1 cast more. I think the soundtrack is not as good as the first game either. However, even though the gameplay is improved in many ways from the first game, I actually prefer the broken difficulty of the first game way more than I prefer the more balanced difficulty of the second game. I also don't like the backtracking. To me, that is the worst part of a game and it kills the experience for me. The backtracking for this game is what really, really hurts the game for me and what makes it my least favorite mainline Shin Megami Tensei game. I really dislike the backtracking that much. I feel like this game has a lot of good in it, just like any other Shin Megami Tensei game. And I think this game has a fascinating world like any other Shin Megami Tensei game. It's just like I said, I don't enjoy it nearly as much. And I feel like this game isn't as charming as the first one. In the previous video, I said that So there's just something about Shin Megami Tensei 1 that has a certain charm to it. And I don't feel like that's in this game. And it is that charm that makes me enjoy Shin Megami Tensei 1 a lot more than Shin Megami Tensei 2. Even though that game is really, really flawed, I really enjoy that flawed experience that SMT1 has over SMT2. I feel like I said all I want to say about this game. So, yeah. I guess I should say that I still do recommend SMT2 if you're a fan of the series. Because maybe you'll probably enjoy it way more than I did. So yeah, there's that. It's just the game, just like SMT1, is very dated. So, yeah. As you can probably tell, at the end of this video, I calmed down quite a bit. And that is because I decided to re-record the ending to this and make it a little bit more sensible. I feel like I kind of screwed up while making this, but I feel like it turned out okay. So, yeah, I guess I should end this now because this video has gone on long enough. And yeah, remember to follow me on Twitter because I like to promote my Twitter. And I highly recommend just to comment your feelings on this game and what you thought of my feelings on this game. I like the idea of having a discussion. So, yeah, I feel like that's all I want to say. So, see you next time where we talk about SMT3 Nocturne, a game I like way more than SMT2. So, yeah, see you then.